dApp, and I probably should have had the more, on ENS domains. We'll save that for Wednesday. But let's get to ApeChain Architects and talk a little Zenko. And I'll hand it off to you after the ApeChain Architects song. Cap, I know we're welcoming on our guy, Jason. We have talked to a few times now on stage. I will hand it off to you to kick everything off, but excited to finally connect and get the show going here.
Yeah, looking forward to this
one.
Go for it.
No, I was going to say I haven't seen you guys since Lisbon, right? So it's great to see you again.
Paris, right?
Paris.
Oh, Paris. Sorry, yeah, Paris. Yes, You're right.
Yeah, great to connect. Long time coming, and if you had to connect with Jason, you're in for a treat today. We also have the brand account Zenko is up on stage. Give that a follow if you've not already done so. We're going to talk about Zenko Protocol and all they're building on ApeChain today. But before we get into that, Jason, for those that aren't familiar, maybe not connected with you yet, do you mind sharing a little bit about your backstory? It's pretty impressive. We talk about these big brands and rocking PFPs. I think people might be blown away when they discover the big brands that you've been working with and helping onboard into our wild and wonderful world of crypto and on-chain that it's kind of been flying under the radar. But before we get into all things Zenko, do you mind just sharing a little more about your journey and any background you'd care to share?
Yeah. So Jason, so I'm the CEO of Zenko. I started my journey in marketing around 28 years ago now. And I've been predominantly working with very large enterprise businesses across tech, consumer electronics, finance, but pretty exclusively helping them build pipeline. So my whole life has been about how to reach somebody, how to motivate them to learn about your product, and then how to push them through your funnel. And it's amazing how, to be frank, Web3 really hasn't had a big impact on that space yet, but the next 3 years, it's going to totally change. With Web3 and Web4, it's going to put a lot of businesses on the back foot that aren't already starting to think about it. So, I've kind of spent 25 years in Web2. We had the birth of internet, we had the birth of internet marketing, we had the birth of search engine marketing, social media marketing, all that stuff. And now we're really, I think, at a tipping point for the next 25 years to be God knows what being built on Web3 and Web4. So yeah, it's incredibly exciting.
I agree. And not to just jump right into it, but I am genuinely curious. You've been talking with these big brands, I mean, for all intents and purposes, since you've been in crypto. Have you noticed any sentiment change on their part over, let's say, the last few months, where we were just talking Tom Lee going to media tours and these ETH treasury companies, and it just seems, it seems like the public perception has shifted somewhat dramatically from individuals to TradFi to big brands. Have you noticed that? And I'm not trying to pry anything that you're under NDA.
No. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And let me give you something not in context first, and then something a bit more in context. So, for example, you guys were talking earlier about the NFT reserves and corporates buying NFTs, right? And genuinely, I hear people laughing about that as if like it's almost like a joke. I'll tell you, right, for years I've been going into some of the biggest brands in the world's offices, and the first thing that they want to show you is the new piece of art they've bought or the new piece of art they've had commissioned and put in their wall. They have historically, whether you're talking about big brands like IBM through the big software guys, particularly in the tech space, they've always supported up and coming artists, but it's always been with a view to parking some money in something, A, that they can show off, but B, it just sits on their balance sheet. So all these big, nice glass offices are filled with art, and they're not art they've gone and bought from a shop. Genuinely, they are stuff that's been commissioned mostly by up and coming artists. So honestly, for the people that think that NFTs are not going to be bought by corporates, you are totally wrong. And it's more likely to be, I mean, like literally, you guys were just talking about Fidenza. I was walking down my hotel carpet, walking down my hotel lobby. The carpet looks like a Fidenza. And I'm like, that's a sign from God. Buy a Fidenza. Literally, my carpet outside my room looks like a Fidenza. So, it may be more art, and maybe some might rock a PFP. Now, if we talk about in my space, we've been talking about, there's been one consistent thing that's happened over the last 25 years for me, and that is the easy things have got a lot harder. And what I mean by that is we used to get 30% click-through rate on an email. We used to get 35% conversion on a form on a landing page. We used to get traffic from Twitter for 3-4 pence, and 10% of that would convert, right? Facebook, 8 pence. All of those things are really starting to not work as well and becoming more and more expensive. And I'd say what's accelerated in the last year is we've been pitching ideas from how to use blockchain to incentivize people, and we can talk about rewards, all the way through to metaverses as a way of engaging, right? Don't build lots of stores everywhere in every town. Just build one online store and invite the world in and talk to them there. We've been talking to people about this for 3 years. The last 6 months, we've had more inbound phone calls saying, that thing you talked about, that piece of technology, because I think people are starting to realize that, there's the old way of marketing, the old way of communicating, the old way of building a community are not working. And I'll tell you something, and this is God's honest truth. No matter who we talk to, everybody made the same mistake 15 years ago, right? And this, for me, highlights the value of what you guys are doing, right? So I'm a big fan. I've been in the ape community since Bored Apes came out. What's happening is, what happens, about 15 years ago, Web 2 companies came along and said, here's this amazing free offer for us to look after your community for you. So stick your community on Facebook, and you know what? We'll manage that community for free for you. Here you go. Look, we'll give you all the tools you need to manage the community, right? So, Facebook was born. Twitter came along. Obviously, ones that disappeared, some have come and gone. And these brands have chased those to build their communities. What's happening now is they've woke up to the fact that they only get something between 1% and 3% organic reach in those ones. So they've spent years building followers. I was with one of the world's biggest networking companies last week. They've spent years building 750,000 followers on their Twitter, and they get 1% organic reach. That's it, 1%. So they have to pay Twitter to reach their own customers and their own fans. And I keep saying to people, the mouse dies on the trap because it doesn't understand why the cheese is free. And 15 years ago, you thought these are free tools. These are amazing. This is genuinely what they're waking up to. And I believe the builders out there that are building on Web3 are giving brands the opportunity to win those customers back. They really are. It's a big open space for people to step into because everybody's frustrated. Why do I have to pay Facebook to reach my own fans? It's a real challenge out there. So yeah, I would say it's been a hard slog for 3 years. The last 6 months, our deal flow's just gone crazy with people saying, you talked about it a while ago. Can you come in and can you kind of share how we would do it now? Not saying they're rushing to rock a pudgy PFP, but it's a very positive start for the space, I think.
Very exciting. It's got to start somewhere, right? Like this shift, I expected that, but it's great to hear it because I think what we're seeing, and this is also why I'm so bullish over the next six plus months, is most people, the overwhelming majority of people, don't really have any clue what's just begun. Maybe if they're really into TradFi, they've maybe caught a Tom Lee clip. Maybe they're aware of like Bitcoin nearing all-time highs again and ETH's on the run up. But I think most people don't fully understand that this sentiment has shifted, I think, dramatically when you talk about these big brands, right? Like this is like from where they were even last cycle when we had like the Nikes and Starbucks of the world entering in. Like I got to think maybe both those play out differently if either the regulatory environment, the tailwinds that we have now were in place then, or if they were later, if they got started this cycle. And it's a really interesting time to see not just what, but how these notable brands are going to participate in crypto and Web3.
And here's something for you, right, Chris? So around 2.5 years ago, we worked really hard to get on the MasterCard innovation hub list, which basically means we can go to any bank with a solution and say, look, we've got this great solution to help you engage with customers. When we did that, we almost had to hide the fact that we used the blockchain. And when they asked about the underlying technology, we were a little bit like, oh, nobody cares what servers Facebook are running on, right? As long as it meets your objectives. Let's not talk about the tech. Let's talk about, oh, you want something that's transparent. You want something that's low fees. You want something that's auditable. Oh, brilliant. Okay, yeah, that's the solution that we're using. We literally almost had to hide the fact we're blockchain. Now, we put it almost right at the beginning and people go, brilliant, you're using the blockchain. And that's been and it's not been a slow shift. It's almost been like overnight. It's now an advantage for us to say we're built on the blockchain. Brilliant. We were going to ask you that question. Thank you.
This is wild. I think I'm going to have to have you say that again, because this is we went from, if you mentioned blockchain, you might have been exited out of the conference room like as soon as the words got out of your mouth, or they like snickered or they laughed, or it was, to your point, like we many of us felt like we had to hide it, like couldn't mention the tech, like just talk about what it could unlock and what it could do. Now it's getting to the front of the line. Now it's like table stakes. Now if you're not building on chain, it's like, what is this, 1990?
Exactly. Oh, you're one of those non-blockchain people. I mean, it's been, and that's why I'm with you guys. I think this run is going to be very dominated by real utility, like real world use. And of course, in our little space, there's still going to be memes that are going to run, that are going to drive community. There's going to be, PFP NFTs, because the money that's made on those utilities are going to end up somewhere, right? You know what I mean? So they're still going to go. But if you'd have said to me 3 years ago, oh my God, like we're going to get this, president of the US that's going to announce a strategic reserve and say we're never going to sell. I genuinely cannot believe people are bearish at this point. It's like Bitcoin's so close to an all-time high, yet sentiment almost feels, I guess if we go back to that chart, right? We're in disbelief, aren't we? And anybody that thinks we're not in disbelief is even deeper in disbelief, right? But everyone's like, is this true? Is this like really happening? And people still shorting Bitcoin. It's like we're nearly in price discovery. Like, who shorts? I'm with you, Steve. Like, I just can't short anything because it feels like you're betting against the system, right? And I've never shorted a thing in my life, but I know people do, and I'm like, why would I can't think of any thesis why you would short here. And you think, oh, this is it, we've topped now, and it's going to pull back to 60K. It's like, we're never seeing 60K again. Like seriously, what are these people talking about? And it's still, I think we just hate ourselves that much that we can't believe it's happening, or we're so, I have to say, can I just say personally, I love listening to you guys talking about this journey and this run, right? And I promise you, in 6 months' time, you'll be like, super cycle, baby. Look, who said we need to take profits? Like, because this is my third run now, and we always start this point of the ball by saying, take 50%, put it to one side, and then something will pop up and you'll go, oh, hang on, wait a minute. Like, I think I haven't got one of those.
We need someone to build this wallet. Who's building this right now? Build the wallet where anytime you flip something for a gain, you can't even touch 50% of it. It just goes, it locks it away. It's like automatically transfers it to your cold wallet with Bitcoin. Like, someone needs to build this too, because you're right. Like, as much as I truly believe everything I said, that is a plan that I'll play with the percentage a little bit, but I will do my best to execute something similar this cycle. I also know myself, and when I get in the midst of a heater and I feel like I can't miss, I'm like Klay Thompson shooting threes unguarded. I deviate from the plan. Like, I know me, and this is like someone who's I like to think I am pretty disciplined. So you talked about like working out. That was like I've hit my step goal 155 days in a row. Like, I work out 7 days a week. Like, I'm disciplined when it comes to things I set my mind on. This is sticking to like, I'll do the plan, but then sticking to it at peak euphoria, it's one of the more challenging things I've ever, and I haven't done it yet because last cycle I didn't do it at peak euphoria. And I'm trying to convince myself I will this time, but it's a challenge. Hey, I know you mentioned this cycle is going to be about real utility, and you mentioned these big businesses and the big brands. I think that's probably a pretty good segue right into what Zenko is building and how you might connect a couple of those dots. No?
Yeah, and let's talk about ApeChain too, right? So we realized that brands had this disconnect problem with value. They were asking people to fill in forms. They were asking people to sign up for webinars, particularly when COVID, because that just went crazy. They were asking people to download case studies and all this type of stuff, to watch product videos. And nobody seemed to have any time. The clicks became more expensive. And genuinely, people were like, well, they realized that I'm giving you data. What am I getting back? So we started a number of early trials to say, well, what would meet value with value? And the thing that we really worked generically across everybody was actually saying, look, we'll do some good in the world for your time. Now, we can't give you money because brands won't give you money to learn about their products. But what we can do is we can do a good. So we signed with Google Cloud. We did over 1,000 tons of carbon offsetting with Google Cloud on chain. We did our first football match. We did a net zero match down at Chelsea with UNICEF. That was 350 tons of carbon. We planted 10,000 trees with HP. So we were. It's a reward. All of these things are about like saying, right, well, you give us your time, attention, energy, movement to learn about our brand, and we will give you a value in the world that is a good. And we learned two things really quickly. One was you have to let people choose, right? So do this thing and plant a tree. Well, that would work for me because I live in the middle of the countryside. I'm surrounded by trees, and I'm like, trees are important to me. I love looking at trees, right? But somebody that lives near the ocean might care about ocean plastics. Somebody that lives in the city centre might care about homelessness or knife crime or mental health or children in food poverty, as we politely put that in the UK, right? So we had to let people choose. And the other thing was we had to give people something to show off. And that's where the blockchain comes in to fix those two things. So we have a single unit of currency, that's the value, that allows people to choose. So I earn a token, and then I spend that token on a good. And then once that good is executed, I get an NFT back as my proof of execution, but also something that I can show for the good that I've done. So my blockchain wallet contains in the metadata all of the summary of all the good I've done in my life, but also I graphically have a nice representation to do that. And our job really over the last 3 years has been to figure out how brands might use these tokens to engage with their prospects or their customers. So our first application was called Learn. This is the easiest one to understand. It's like advert on LinkedIn, give us 20 minutes of your time and we will offset a value, a ton of carbon, for example. Okay, brilliant customer for that, big networking company. We reduced their cost per lead by $400 and the cost of the offer was $40. So it's literally like giving brands free money. It's like, do you want your marketing to be more effective? Include this as an offer. Just like a buy one, get one free or a try for 90 days kind of thing, right? You give us your time and energy learning about our stuff. We give you a token, you go pick a course. It's super simple to execute. We're building out play to earn applications. So we've had over 100,000 wallets built on ApeChain from our first little Telegram game, but we've got more coming. More importantly, today we're launching our next application, which I think you'd like, Chris, based on what you just said, which is our Move to Earn app called Zenko Move. Wow.
Really?
Yeah. So our logo is a fox because Zenko in Japanese means performing a virtuous act. That's where the brand comes from. So it's everybody involved in Zenko is doing good things. Basically, we're like a do-good layer. So this is our Move logo. Don't know if you can see it. Where we've got people doing things, running, swimming. Cycling, right.
You're not kidding, like tugging on my heartstrings. Like I'm not making it up. 155 days a row on my sweat coin, which I think this has maybe got me 17 cents after 155 days. And then I have
let's talk about that.
I have a Kudos ring or Kudos on the box. So I'm really into. I was late to step in. I'm really into Move to Earn, but I've yet to capitalize on it. So yeah, this is right up my alley.
So let me explain how we're fundamentally different. So excitingly, you can plug in any of your existing apps, right? So I've got Whoop, I've got the Aura Ring. So you can plug these in. You can plug in Strava, Fitbit, Runkeeper, Peloton, right? So what we're not about is you challenging yourself as an individual. There are plenty of apps that do that, right? We're not trying to compete with those. What we are is we're a team-based missions app. We looked at all the data and we believe that the data tells us that if people work towards a goal as a team, try and motivate each other, they're much more likely to keep going, okay? So Actually, if you go to Zenko Move, that's specifically what I'm talking about right now. And there's a really nice video on that and stuff on there. So this is what's launching today. We've never told anybody the URL, actually, because the ApeChain guys are actually just with the team now pushing Glyph live, which I'll talk about in a second. But Zenko Move is for the application. So what this will, zenkomove.com. So what will happen is you'll sign up. We've got some missions that you can join in. So typically crypto themed, we've got our mission to the moon. And we do we have a warm up, which is get to the top of Kilimanjaro, and then we've got 5 separate moon missions that get us to the moon. But the kicker is we want you to win together as a team. So you create a team and you all compete with each other on either a distance or a time or an activity-based goal. And doing that, you're earning XP, which convert into tokens that you can spend on a good. So one of the key differences is that we're team-based. Now, you can just use it to track yourself, but think of this, Chris, right? You are mega motivated, okay? As I can now tell, and I've met you in person, so, you know, you're pretty lean, right? So, but you might have friends that you also want to motivate. So what this will enable you to do completely for free, as of later this evening, once ApeChain give us the go-ahead, you'll be able to create your own mission for your family and friends and say, come on, guys, right, we're going to have a little competition, or we're going to have a mission and we're going to go from East Coast to West Coast, or we're going to climb to the top of Whistler, or whatever it is, right? You can set your own challenges that are either based on time or distance. Add your friends. So maybe, you know, for me, I'd love to get my mum out doing more, right? So I'm going to set a mission and get my mum out trying to do, you know, 15 minutes every day of walking, because I know if she does that for a month, it will start to change behavior and be part of her day. So one of the things we're very different about is we're team-based. The other thing is our tokenomics are very, very different to things like Steppen and Sweatcoin. Now, the missions that have rewards are funded by brands. So we have brands, we have professional sports clubs. They're going to be adopting Zenko Move within their communities. So they're effectively going to put up the rewards. They're going to buy the tokens and they're going to distribute it to the people in the Move missions. There is no inflationary tokenomics. In fact, our tokenomics are deflationary because 100% of the protocol fees go towards they go to support the token price. So the community can elect to use that money to buy back and burn, or they can use it for other things that help grow the community. But all of the fees are contained within our circular ecosystem. And I mean, not being too promoty here, but I mean, we've stealth launched. We're sub 8 million market cap. You just mentioned Steppen, right? Steppen went over 4 billion market cap last bull run, and they only had one app, which was get out there and run. And for us, Move is only one of our 5 apps we're bringing to market in this bull run alone, because we're not driven by the market, we're driven by customers saying, this is how we would use it. How do we want people to engage? So like I said, Learn was our first, Play was our second, and that's going to keep extending with more games. We've got some customer specific ones. But Move is one that we've been really passionate about because it's amazing for mental health. It's about getting people in teams. And we've really hit a good vein of excitement within the professional sports communities to get their fans doing something, like log walking to the stadium, for example, or do missions around matching your favorite player during a week or something. Because also what it does is it gives them opportunities to bring in lower level sponsors. So I'm not suggesting the clubs are going to buy the tokens themselves. It'll be the sponsors that sponsor missions. So we're talking to people like Hewlett-Packard and F1 Racing on doing Move-based activations around F1s is a good example. Lenovo's another example there too. But at a grassroots level, sports clubs just doing local activations with their fans. So it's a completely free tool, but if you want to apply rewards, you have to purchase Zenko tokens to distribute them. And all of the protocol fees go to support it. And this, for me, partially explains why ApeChain is so important to us, because we're talking, this is not for the crypto community. Now, of course, what I hope, of course, is that, the Web3 guys come on board and they can set up, you could set up fans of your show and log all of their miles and movement they do and feature in the global leaderboard, right? There'll be ApeChain teams. There'll be, I'll be in the Rep Guys one, right? So there'll be all sorts of Web3 teams, but we've got to make this almost seamless for the Web2 community. So the ApeChain has got 2 really powerful things. A, it gives us the ability to do things like gasless mints on the back end. It has all of the tools to integrate real world financial applications into ApeChain, and it is incredibly low fee. I mean, it's super low fee and it's super fast. But on the front end, their Glyph wallet means that everybody that signs up for Zenko Move will be issued with a wallet, and they will not know they've got a wallet. It won't be called a wallet. It'll just be their email address. Web3 is totally abstracted. There's no signing pop-ups. There's no remembering my seed phrase. But everybody that downloads the app from iOS, Android, available later today, or signs up on the website, they will be provided with an ApeChain wallet, but they just won't know it. And then inside the app, they'll have their points, which will be essentially the tokens, and they'll have their earned collections, which will be NFTs. But again, we never talk about them as NFTs. So we're going to be providing some really great art. We've got a brilliant artist, a Marvel artist called Adam Polina, who's done a collection for each of our stages. So, people get little badges like did my first 10K, did my first 50K. But actually, if you complete each of our stages, you're going to unlock some really special digital art on ApeChain. So we're also sneakily in the background trying to bring NFTs to what you guys talked about as normies earlier in the show, but they're totally gasless. They'll just appear in their wallet, and that wallet is Glyph, but they just don't need to worry about it. And you guys were there in Paris when we were finalizing, was ApeChain the chain that we were going to build on? Because we did our pilots on Polygon. We really wanted an EVM, but there were plenty of chains that we could have gone to. And the exciting thing about ApeChain for the future is that everything we're doing now is very Web 2-y. It's like an app, it's like a webinar, it's like a learn platform. We've just done our first Shop to Earn, which is a professional football club in the UK. Every shirt you buy feeds a child in food poverty. And we've got about 50 professional clubs we're going to roll that out within the next 50 months now. It's dead simple, next 5 months. It's dead simple, literally buy a product and a good happens, but in their city. But all of that is very kind of Web 2-y. The exciting bit for our customers from MasterCard, HP, Google, Lenovo, Samsung, sports, the exciting thing for them actually is metaverses. It's the next place to engage, because we're a decentralized engagement platform that is mostly very Web 2-y and flat. In a year's time, almost all of these things will have a virtual back end, if that makes sense. Come and see the product, come play with the product, or come and play a game, but that game will be somewhere. And of course, ApeChain have persistent other side coming very soon. I'm mega excited about Bathroom Blitz. I've seen the graphics. I know the team that have built it really well. It's somebody's going to win that space. And, us being on ApeChain feels like it's the right place to be with all the developments that are happening on the other side too, because that's a lens to the future, whether it's totally immersive or it's augmented. The technology is kind of moving there. So we're super, you just need to look at me on Twitter and I've got my Bored Ape, right? So, I spent most of this bear market just buying Bored Apes because I only had one last run because I bought mine at $3,000 and thought when they got to $8,000, I was like, I'm not going to buy another. They'll come back down, right? And they just never came back down. So I'm going to learn now. So I've been stacking, luckily coders actually, which was I've been stacking apes and mutants this whole bear market. So I'm happy to be here because I love the community. But completely aside that, from a technical point of view, it's just a great EVM to build on. And I think for us, particularly with the consumer front end, the Glyph wallet has given us. We almost had to wait for the wallet because consumers, it was just a bit clunky. And I know you've got those kind of solutions, but if you have to explain Web3, you've failed immediately to the absolute mass market. It's just got to be totally abstracted and seamless. So yeah, it's I think the technology is meeting up with the requirements as we were discussing earlier.
It's like back to, I mentioned, was Nike and Starbucks too early last cycle? Maybe not. But what we didn't have, I can't stress enough how better the tech is today, how much we've moved forward, and what things like Glyph unlocks. You truly can abstract all the blockchain stuff away. Your average user who's not here, it's a web, look and feel what they're familiar with. It's a Web 2 interface, and when you combine the tech having matured and got to a point where that foundational layer is there, combined with the buy-in from these big businesses and these big brands, it's just, man, it's an exciting time to be here and be building. And I think Steve and I both, we saw this, we thought this would happen. We thought big brands would get involved, didn't know the exact journey. And I really do think like combination of all the regulatory stuff, all the sentiment shifting at a high level, combined with this tech, it's like now we're at the first inning of this stuff. Now things can really, really take off. And these programs aren't just great conceptually and in theory, they work in real life. They work in practice because it's no longer extremely complicated and you need to be deep in crypto to use any of this stuff. So yeah, well done, exciting. And Steve, just hearing him talk through that, it's like, we're big fans of, some of our recent partnerships here on the show, some of our recent sponsorships, like we did the BZ Claw Draw, which was our fans loved. We would do their claw machine and, someone in the audience, won those prizes. We're really looking to, asking all of our sponsors. We got one coming up with ApeChain soon that we don't announce this week. We'll share all the details next week heading into August for, again, another pretty nice incentive for all of our listeners for tuning in. See, this is like a no-brainer. We do a Coffee with Captain fitness challenge. I don't know what it is. If anyone has any ideas what we should do, whether it's just steps or where we should walk to, what this challenge should be. And then that's another piece of inventory. Like I'll seek a sponsor who wants to sponsor the Coffee with Captain fitness challenge. And then boom, everyone who's getting fit and active will receive those rewards. Am I understanding correctly that the reward is the Zenko token, right? Like that's, if a big brand comes in, they're buying Zenko. That's not like their own token, or they don't have to create a token. It's all in the protocol is all powered by Zenko. Is that correct?
Yeah. And the reward essentially is the execution of the good. Is you getting to choose.
Okay.
What cause? Yeah. Do I want to remove ocean plastics? Feed children in food poverty? Plant trees. So the reward really is the execution of the good. Now that said, with a lot of our brand customers, we're then talking about how we overlay additional rewards on top. So like winners will also get in real life prizes, for example. So, with one of the F1 guys, we're talking about, winning tickets and things. So it doesn't have to exclusively be the token, but the inbuilt mechanics, which is like a move for good, if you think about it in that way, utilize our token. But it's not, it doesn't have to just be the token. It can be the token and something else. So if somebody wanted to use our platform to give away additional rewards, for example, then that's absolutely fine too. It's almost the same like if you had a sponsor, Chris, that wanted people during their movement mission to actually do side challenges, like go download a wallet, for example, or something like that. You can build in side challenges too that are centered around movement as the actual goal. So one of the things we're doing now with some customers is once Move gets live this week, we can actually be combining Move and Learn and saying, right, well, actually Move is the get you going piece, but as little side missions along the way, get bonus points if you watch our webinar, or get bonus points if you perform this task over here. So it's really about just trying to improve engagement. And the other thing as well, which I think highlights the importance of what you guys are doing, particularly for brands and particularly for sponsors, is the thing we've also not talked about today that's going to dramatically impact our industry is AI coming into all these channels. So as brands seek to get eyeballs and as brands seek to tell people about their products, increasingly the channels that they would tell people about their products are starting to be dominated by AI. I'm in Madrid at the moment. I didn't search. I didn't go on one website. I literally just said to ChatGPT, this is my requirements, look for a hotel and find me the cheapest place out of where I've got accounts. And it sent me an Expedia link to buy it. Whereas somebody would have paid search engine marketing against the query that would have ran on the search. Somebody would have put display on travel websites I would have gone to, right? So the human piece is going to be so much more important in the next 5 years for marketing, where you can validate human beings, like a show like yours, like influencer marketing, like platforms and applications that are human driven, like moving and learning. That's the space that brands are going to gravitate towards because they can prove they're humans. And they're not AI. I can't imagine there's many AI bots listening to your show at the moment trying to decide which NFTs to FOMO into. Maybe there is, I'm not sure. But there's going to be a big search for humanity, I think. And I think you can feel it on Twitter. I think you just need to look at Twitter posts and Twitter responses to get a feeling that there's quite a big percentage of AI botting going on across the whole. Even back to that point you said earlier about yapping, right, Chris? It's like there's a lot of AI stuff, going on. And I think that just puts humans off. And I'd always gravitate to a space because I know it's real people than some long thread that somebody's ran through ChatGPT and they've forgot to remove the end dashes because they're just being lazy. And it's like, oh my God. And then all the comments are AI driven too. So, for me, human is the key. And that's why we're excited about Web 4 too. I know we've kind of not really got Web 3 going properly yet, but what's coming down the road, I think, is going to be super exciting. And I think by the time Ape Fest comes around, we're all going to be like hugging and high-fiving, going like, we were right. Honestly, this is, it's going to be a good event for everybody.
Jason feeling good this morning. And good commentary in the market on the whole too, as well. But it's funny you say that. Like but I think what you're saying, just because I think what's really interesting is you're putting these different pieces together about social good, about motivation, about teamwork and togetherness and community, which I think is actually the part that I think, I know you kind of hit on, but I think it's an underrated part of when you talk about a challenge together. I remember, when I was at corporate environments, the most successful fitness challenges we would do from an internal communication standpoint weren't the get your steps and go here. And you're like, oh man, that guy runs marathons, I'm screwed. It's get together with your friends and do something together. And look, you may not be the winner, but you may be the one who ultimately comes out doing something and motivating and feeling accountable to someone else, which makes you a better person. And then you guys celebrate it, and it creates a social network of sorts where you're talking to each other about the goal you're trying to reach, whether it's for good, whether it's for good for you as far as the healthy piece goes. When you talk about steps or some other fitness goal, it's the idea that you're having a conversation and a social network about, you're creating an experience out of something that maybe wasn't previously, and you're using sort of an underlying blockchain layer to do that, and you're introducing rewards with it. So I think it's a really cool concept. And I love that you have, you sort of set it, and just, to make sure myself and the audience understanding it right, it's like you're setting it as a base level sort of like protocol, almost more so than you're setting it as a, this is a movement plan, or this is a carbon emissions plan. It is a baseline where you could program many different things against it.
Totally. And Steve, you've been listening to all of our stuff, right? So the way we pitch this to our customers is about narrative, experience, and purpose. And brands want to connect in with an experience. So everything you just described about the power of people and communities and the feeling good and the consistency, that's what brands want to be a part of. Finding a sponsor for something like that is not hard. Finding a sponsor to put a logo on something that people might see is a lot harder, right? But actually saying, well, this brings your sponsorship to life, and then let's make it themed that's close to your brand, right? Like we did. Our one is a mission to the moon, because I was gambling when we started writing the app that about this time we'd be coming into the moon phase, and we'd all be all like, oh, we would be using moon analogies in all of our creative. So brands kind of want to be part of that. So yes, of course, it's about doing good, but also we're a commercial business, and we're trying to get people on the blockchain, and we're trying to get transactions on chain, and we're trying to bring value to ApeChain too. But I think it's making sure that the tokenomics aren't inflationary. It's not like the more people that join, the more tokens we create, the more you do, the more, actually the money's got to come from somewhere to power this. And not to bring it back to like that dirty business again, but we've got to think really commercially with Web3 and saying, right, well, if brands are going to use it, why are they going to use it, and how are they going to use it? And it's going to come down to saving them money. And our proposition is dead simple. It costs you a lot of money to reach the audience that you want to sell your products to. Using the blockchain, using a cause, using an experience will dramatically reduce your cost of customer acquisition, and it just makes your marketing budgets more effective. And we go after budgets that exist, not create a new budget, if that makes sense. Because creating a new budget in these big companies is quite hard. But just saying, well, we're going to sweat your budgets a little bit harder, because budgets are a little bit squeezed at the minute, and people are saying, well, what can we do that's innovative, but also reduce our costs? Not, we've got an endless budget, what can we do that's innovative? Build me something amazing, if you know what I mean. I don't have many of those meetings at the moment, because I do think there's some economic reality happening, and we've never really had that in Web3. I don't know what you guys takes on it. You know, we've kind of always had Web3 going in a very strong market, and I feel like things like the stock market's pretty strong, but I feel like there's job issues. I feel like there's credit crunches. I think the interest rates are kind of pinching people that have to borrow. So I hope that the economy does turn and that we don't get too hit later in the year. Maybe that could be what marks the peak of the bull run. Maybe we go into proper economic bear market. I'm not sure, but I'm not an expert on that. But I feel like we've got conditions outside of crypto that are going to have an impact on us. But if we can use blockchain to reduce people's costs and increase their efficiency and make sure that everything's transparent, which is what blockchain's all about, particularly in the utility space, I think we've got a real good chance to fix people's problems when they start to hit these economic problems, which is I need to get a better return for my money. Just like people saying, well, maybe AI is a way of helping you address your staffing issues, right? But that just creates another problem on the back end. So I know I'm all full of beans today because the sun's shining and we're in a bull market, but I think we can't be blinkered to the fact that we do have to have real utility and we do have to fix real world problems, as well as having 6 months of everything going up and everybody being an absolute genius trader, right? Which we all will be, because everything we buy, we'll hit that period where everything we buy will go up and we'll be like, great, what hasn't ran yet? Because that's going to go next, and until it doesn't.
I'm smiling, Steve, because I saw our guy. I felt our guy Dunk Cookie smiling. It's not every day we get a full of beans reference here on Coffee with Captain. So for all of our English friends, that was that was spot on. I did have a question, Jason, because you mentioned, I think I heard you say 5 pillars, and you mentioned learn, play / move. Is that the same? Is that the same?
No, plays games. So okay. Playing games. So learn, play.
Move. What are the other 2?
Move, shop. So this is where so we've got two applications to shop. One is live now, and this is where you buy something from a brand and a good happens. So great application in sports: buy a football shirt, feed a child in food poverty. Interestingly, our first one, I'm being interviewed on UK national TV to talk about this. Our largest channel in the UK are interviewing me to talk about this innovation in sports, and my challenge is to try and squeeze ApeChain in. That's my objective on British national TV. I'm going to try and squeeze ApeChain in. So shop is 2. Shop is buy something and a good happens, and the other one is we're bringing an application to the market that effectively uses affiliate codes from 3,000 stores to turn that return into a token that can be used for good. So shop was the 4th. The 5th one is it's a little bit random, and it's called stake to earn. But this will be the thing that will really change our token flow, and it will apply in all of our applications. And this will be live in October. So what's going to happen is we've got our 4 ones where you're earning tokens. And we are talking to some additional third parties that just use the token, right? We're just trying to showcase apps, a bit like ApeChain is by building applications on top. Yuga are trying to build applications on top of ApeChain, right? So we're building applications for people to use, but we also, we do want people to adopt the token directly. So that our 4 main apps. The final one is stake to earn. Now, so let's say you've just completed a mission and you've been on an event for Lenovo, and you checked in and you read their white paper and you answered their questions, and you've earned enough tokens to feed 100 children in food poverty. So you could go and say food poverty, right? Now, what we're going to do is give you the option to say, wait a minute, maybe you don't feed 100 right away. Maybe you stake your coins in DeFi and you feed 5 a month forever in perpetuity. So what this does in our flywheel is it disrupts that process. So instead of earn, execute, it's actually earn, stake, and then it slows down the emissions. So I'm debating calling this DoFi because it's like do good with finance. But I'm not sure that'll take off. See, Steve didn't smile. I genuinely thought I'd say DoFi and Steve would smile at that, but he didn't. So maybe that's a bad name. But it's using a Web3, not trick, but a Web3 tactic, which is DeFi and staking, but applying it almost to the cause. So forget the tokens, but think about how you can amplify the cause. So if you've got enough to do this now, how could we amplify that by staking it, basically?
Well, whether the name sticks or not, I wholeheartedly agree that there is a massive opportunity to do good in crypto. I think especially now when the sentiment, the public sentiment, seems to be shifting from evil crypto is only good for drug dealers and criminals to everyone should have crypto in their portfolio, and it's like I think this opportunity to actually do good, not just on a specific project level or specific brands, but I think it's one of the things that blockchain tech can unlock. And there's been a lot of thoughts, there's been a lot of attempts, and I applaud and appreciate the effort, because I do think this is something where it's like we talk about, things are just better on chain, and I do believe philanthropic efforts can be better on chain. Like I think the tech will unlock things like in the past.
And an underrated part of this that you mentioned, like I've been talking about it for a while. So I remember having a conversation with Bill Tai, who was the first investor in Zoom, who was also one of the founders of MetaGood on Chain Monkey. And I remember him saying, like, we had this conversation about, man, imagine if you got NFTs for your charitable contributions and it was something you could display in your Zoom background. Because a lot of people, not everybody is a nerdy collector with a gazillion trinkets behind them, like myself or Cap or anybody else. Like some people just have a normal Zoom background, like a normal, well-adjusted human. Well, those people, the idea that they could have an NFT that they're able to flex in their background very easily, and it's modular, not like, oh, let me make a custom Zoom background and figure it out. And what it's like, no, you just click a couple buttons and it shows up. And so ways to show your charitable donations across chain or flex the purposes you care about, I think is interesting, because again, this is like the PFP phenomenon where people act like, oh my God, PFPs, no way people want to use PFPs. It's like, well, what do you call the local Disney fan that you're friends with that puts a picture of them in front of the castle? Or people don't want to flex their, charitable NFTs. Why would they want to do that? What do you call the person who puts the ribbon on their profile picture on Facebook or Instagram, or shares that, on a one-off basis? The ability to make that more compostable, more portable, like that is the thing that I think people are missing out on. So I think that aspect's underrated as well. The fact that, people could potentially do something, get this reward that shows that they've done this thing forever in perpetuity, that they've given to this thing. And you could have a world where people are collecting sets of charitable donations, and there is more giving because of the flex element of it versus just, hey, I flex, I get a tax write-off, I post a picture of me at some gala and call it a day, or I put a ribbon in my PFP. Like, well, no, like you donate and it shows you donated. We've seen this again on Facebook and other platforms where it shows when you donate to something through a news feed. This is that on steroids. So I think that opportunity and using sort of the glyph technology to do so, I think is really interesting.
And we're talking to the one of our advisors actually in the UK government, and I hope this doesn't happen. But if we do go the way of things like carbon credits and carbon allowance, I mean, at the moment in the UK, they're talking about allowing you to travel abroad 3 times a year, and on your 4th, it triggers an investigation, right? There's some funny stuff happening over here, which thankfully, you guys, not getting into politics, thankfully, you guys look like you might not have, but you might have had if the voting had gone a different way, right? So if people have to have a way of showing the good they do as a part of the balance for the bad they do in the carbon, we want to make sure that we've got that on the blockchain that's immutable, and it shouldn't be a tax. People can say, look, here you go. And here's a sad thing too, and I'll say this, I'm really conscious about your time, but this is a sad fact, right? Right in our early days, when this was like, we need this is the blockchain fixes this. This is the thing. We went to one of the largest charities in the world, and I got marched out of the building, basically, for talking to them about the blockchain. They literally kicked me out. And I managed to talk to the person that had got me in the room about I literally didn't know what happened. I was like, what happened? And he literally said, we can't say this publicly, but we don't want transparency. We don't want low fees. We don't want people to, like, our model isn't that. Our model is, you donate money to our charity, we spend it wisely, because you're not smart enough to pick a cause directly, and trust us, bro, basically. And I think people are smart. I think people might go, you know what? I'd love to support a little project in Malaysia that's trying to rebuild schools after a hurricane. I'd love to support, an ocean cleanup in California after something that's happened. I haven't got to give my money to a big global charity whose job is to pay their CEO $500,000 a year and to effectively spend the money. And that's not poking fun at charities, but I think they're a very old model that are ripe for disrupting. And I'm not necessarily saying that's our job, but we kind of skirt a little bit into that space. And I was so disappointed that they were so reluctant to adopt technology because they knew it would make instantly everything much more transparent. And it kind of makes you question what the role of a charity is after all, basically, because you'd think, why are they not all on the blockchain, right? Lower fees, transparency, removes, any accounting issues, stops, but they don't want it, right? So a turkey doesn't vote for Christmas, and they like the fact that they publish a report after 6 months after the end of the year, and probably nobody downloads it because it's a huge PDF that's hundreds of pages, right? But I genuinely think our technology that we're in now will do a lot of good. And I'm proud to be a small part of that. I love the fact that we're part of the ApeChain community because I think what those guys are building is special. But I could say the same thing about, Abstract. I could say the same thing about Avalanche. There's so many great builders in the space at the moment. And I think it's a big world out there and there's plenty of room for everybody. It's just finding that real world use and the ability to onboard the masses. That's hopefully what this bull run will be about, will be these use cases. And then we can all go buy a Chromie squiggle because I missed the floor on that and I'm still upset.
Jason, you mentioned a lot of great change. You said you want to go EVM. Can I ask why ApeChain? What stood out? I mean, I have my ideas, but I'd love to hear from you. What ultimately drove that decision to launch this on ApeChain?
It was two things actually. It was the bridging capabilities built within, because we're going to be multi-chain. So our tradable token today is on Solana. We are going to launch a DEX onto ApeChain, but to be honest, there's no real rush there because ApeChain's not known for trading of tokens. So we're focusing on centralized exchanges first. So we are going to be truly multi-chain from a token point of view, but our applications are all happening on ApeChain. So every person that joins one of our apps gets a wallet on ApeChain. All of the transactions happen on ApeChain. So I believe in having a very open world for traders where they can buy and sell on their favorite chains. But I think we kind of find a home. And ApeChain have just got some amazing integration tools with things like Stargates and Zaps and all the things I don't really understand technically how they work, but I know that it gives us the rails. Incredibly low fees. I mean, it still amazes me that it costs us more to bridge money onto ApeChain than it does to distribute all of our rewards on ApeChain. It's nuts. And I'm like, my God, so very fast, very, very cheap. But also things like gasless NFT collections, because we're using NFTs. Imagine if somebody had won an award and then they had to figure out how to put a token inside a wallet they didn't even know they existed to claim an NFT that they didn't even know it's an NFT that they're paying gas for, that they didn't even know what gas means, right? Because that's something they put in the car. So ApeChain generally had all the tools we need. Glyph, we had an early preview of Glyph and we were like, that's it. Now that's the deal breaker for us. On the back end, integration with other side, which I know for us is probably a year away, but bringing Premier League football into the other side and creating fan engagement experiences with a live match happening on the pitch, 20 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 20 points of data by person. We're doing all the testing in the background, right? So being able to offer that to our customers and making it all as a part of a do-good thing, it's just, so long answer for an easy question. ApeChain was great, fixed all our problems today, but strategically, we have a view for the future. And I think they are focusing now commercially. I think the things with what they've done with the DAO changes and stuff like that, I think they're all to enable them to focus on what's going to make ApeChain mass market. It's not going to be the chain that people buy the next memes on, right? It's not, it's going to grow because builders come and they bring real world applications where, people aren't that fussed. And you know what, also, the nice thing is we were like, how much do you want ApeChain to be all over our new app? And they're like, we're not fussed. They're not showy offy. They don't want to have their name in the masthead, right? It's just they just want a little powered by ApeChain, right? It's not, so they're not trying to build an ivory castle. They're trying to build real utility, that enables the mass users. So, we found a home. The guys have been great. And I really look forward to other side and the testing and how that's going as part of our second phase going into next year.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we learned talking to some of the team over there is that they are looking at very real applications in the real world on things like this. And it's a smart play to me because that is where I think we have a very real evolution happening in blockchain, and seeing the business applications is really exciting for us as as well. I mean, look, that said, it's been a really good conversation. I know we are rounding out time here. Always enjoy not just talking with you about, everything you're working on at Zenko, but everything, in general. I think you have a really fun perspective on the market, and one of the things I love is people who are truly involved in the market, talking about the market. That's one of those things that you sometimes don't get, where it's a difference between somebody who's a builder and somebody who's a tourist. So appreciate you doing that. Although not a tourist more than 3 times a year, please. But appreciate you doing that. That said, any other thing, like what action do you want people to take today, and any other thoughts that you want to get off before we let you get out of here?
I mean, so we have a little pay-to-earn game in our Telegram. So we give away $500 in ApeCoin every week. So if you want to come and play a little tap game to take plastic out of the ocean, just come into our Telegram. I think that's it. I mean, just come. There's a nice little pin at the top of our Telegram, at Zenko Protocol on Twitter. Go to there or come join our Telegram, which is just, again, at Zenko Protocol. We're going to drop in when the app is live, so you can go download it. I would love for people, download the app, join a mission, but invite somebody you want to inspire to move. Like who do you want in your team? So go away, start thinking, have a team of 6 people. And back to your point, Chris, this isn't about the fastest and the furthest running. Our main mission to the moon actually requires consistency. It's 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That's it. So if that's all you do, you'll be at the same point as somebody that's running 10Ks a day, for example. Now, we've got side missions where it's about distance and stuff like that. But our main mission is about a team of 6 doing 15 minutes a day. It's harder than you think. 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week. But that's behavior changing. So I wish I could send you to, I've not had the nod. I was hoping that ApeChain would have given us the Glyph is live now. We're literally doing the final step integration with Glyph. So as soon as that's live, we'll put a notice out on our Telegram and our Twitter. But yeah, so just come join the community. If you want to connect with me, I'm Jason D. Sibley on Twitter too. I've got a nice little ape with a bowler hat in my profile. So come find me too. And especially if you are in other side, if you're in Ape Fest, please find me there, because I will have some Zenko merch too. And it's I know it's a while away yet, but hopefully we'll meet a lot of the community in Vegas this year.
Awesome. No, appreciate that. Vicky also asked in the chat. Thanks for asking, Vicky. Just was wondering who was talking. So the pinned post all the way to the left is I tagged Jason's account as well as Zenko Protocol, which is on stage. So give both those a follow. You got some big fans out there. Machiavelli, definitely a fan and already a holder. And same, like this is not knocking any art, not knocking any NFT, PFP collections, but more of this, more real world applications on chain that just make it better. From Clutch Market to Zenko, like this is the sort of stuff that gets me excited about ApeChain, where they're heading, because this is a long play, right? I see this like, earlier we're talking, I think it was actually Dunk Cookie was like, what's better in a bear and a bull? This sort of stuff shouldn't matter, bear or bull, right? Like bull certainly helps create the momentum and advancement, but it's this sort of stuff that just should continue to grow and have users regardless of market conditions. And yeah, appreciate the leadership, appreciate doing good out there, and excited to support and follow along.
I mean, guys, a huge fan, like I said. So thank you so much for having me on. I'll come back anytime to give you guys updates. I hope to get you in the app. Let's get a coffee challenge on and just see if we can get people moving through the summer.
To set that up, we could just do it self-serve. We can set up our own challenge on the app.
Yeah. So two things I'd love to see is let's set you up as a global league in our mission. So because what you don't need to do is you don't need to dedicate your time to one mission, or you can sign up for as many missions as you like, and your efforts count to all of them, if that makes sense. So it's not like I'm going to run 30 minutes a day for this one and 30 minutes a day for that, right? So you just do your exercise, log it, and it'll count to all of your missions. So we can set up a Coffee with Captain global league. So anybody can say, oh, actually, I'll put my steps towards their global league, and we can position you alongside ApeChain, for example, and the Bored Apes and all that kind of stuff. So we can do that. But also, once you're in, you can set your own challenges. I think I would love to, and say hold your hand in a non-romantic sense. I'd love to hold your hand and make sure that we could look at setting up some custom stuff for you if you want to do some different awards and stuff like that. Let's figure out. Let's connect offline and figure out the best way to build a challenge, for you. And, I can then meet with the sponsor and talk about how we can put extra activities in for them, like we just discussed, right? Because like I said, the more users you bring, it's going to create more wallets on ApeChain. It's more transactions on ApeChain, and it's some people getting out there and getting fit too. So, let's pick that up offline, and so we can bring an amazing challenge back to your community too.
Super fun.
Love it.
Love it. Well, thanks for joining us. We always appreciate it, and good chatting.
Thank
and
you, guys.
I'm glad you're all full of beans this morning. See you.
Thank you.
Cap, fun stuff. Good guy. Excited, full of beans. I mean, it's exciting times right now in crypto, and hearing just like the bullishness and the excitement there is something that is I don't know. It's like this combination of like a person who's building a real thing with bullishness on the market, thinking we're going to be hitting Ape Fest in a couple of months, and we're going to be thinking that we're all the smartest traders in the world, not following our plans that we're talking about this morning. It's exciting times, and there's a lot of places. I keep thinking to myself, is it just people who packed bags 3 months ago, or are we going to get new things to pack in the next few months? And that's what the crux of my question I had asked earlier about was, which was, where do we go from here? If somebody's starting right now, like I see some people in the war room, in the DJ Network war room, are saying, look, I don't have any big NFT bags. I know for me personally, I'll speak on my own behalf. I mean, I've been paying some bills with some NFT stuff. So I sold some of those NFTs that have now kind of cooked a little bit, certainly at much lower prices. So given that.
On that, that's something too, real quick. I've done the same at times. You don't want to be a forced seller, right? You want to have your plan, stick to it. And part of that strategy of like setting aside your long-term, you put that in Bitcoin and never touch it. Your rainy day fund on crypto would be one like I would have some liquidity that's not fully allocated. So if you do need to cash something out, if you do need to take care of some bills, you're not having to sell something that you wouldn't sell if not for, I need the cash right now. And as I try to think of a specific example, but the times I have sold something because I need some cash. And this is not at the top of my priority list. This is like of the things I would like to liquidate. This is this is the first one to go. But even still, if it's not, I'm not selling it because I think it's a right time to sell based on when I bought it. I'm only selling it because of the need for liquidity at that moment. Rarely do those ever turn out to be good trades. Like